Your number, and I'll call, and I'll follow that in the mall. Take you home, let you juggle my team, tear down your bar.
You playing this thing up. What is my...
What it is? What's up? Can I them good? Cut you up like you ain't been cooked. Show your her really catch you. Well, give me your number, and I'll call, and I'll follow that in the mall. Take you home, let you juggle my team, tear down your bar.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I think that video is just on repeat there. It's probably just a short there. Abby seems to be having some connection issues, so bear with us. We're sometimes flying by the seat of our pants a little bit. We actually haven't done a late stream like this, so late at 9 o'clock for me, 8 o'clock for her. But our guest is on Pacific time, so without further ado, since Abby's having a bit of connection issues, I'll bring him on here so we can say hello.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Alrighty, good. How are we doing? And my apologies for making you guys go so late.
Oh, that's okay. It's perfectly fine. It's good to kind of stretch our comfort zone a little bit. So let me just get this camera there. Sorry.
Yeah, me and Chris, we kind of started the well, it's because also he's on the West Coast, so timing wise, it just kind of worked out that way. Plus, he's kind of a night owl anyway.
Yeah, so I see. I didn't check your message because we had that video playing. I don't quite have your Instagram there to send you the link, but I sent you a Twitter friend request. Maybe I could send it.
Okay, let me go over to Twitter and accept you now, and then I can send it from there. Definitely.
Just little technical issues, audience. Bear with us. Thanks for being here, Sean, Jacqueline, Fiddleford. Always good to see you. A little surprised to see Jacqueline. She'd be up late for this one. Oh, there's Abby. Hello. Can you hear us?
Hello. How are we?
Hello, but you can't see me. Oh, there I am.
I can see you. Yes.
Hi. Yeah,
Just trying to get Chris in here. Sorry.
Yes. He is out and about, so he is trying to get himself home.
Uh-oh, she dropped out again.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well,
let's see. Which one did you send it on?
I sent it to your sent the one that you sent to you was on Facebook. I'll just send another one here.
Yeah, if you can send it on Twitter, maybe that might be easier.
Yeah, but he's still out and about. You're saying
because Chris isn't on Facebook.
Yeah, I might be able to send you a direct message, even if you haven't quite accepted the friend request. So
let me see. Oh, that's right. It might not be showing. It might not be showing because I got to switch over to the other part.
I don't know what was happening, but here we are now.
Oh, there you are. Welcome back, Abby.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, young Morpheus.
And it is a pleasure to meet you also, Miss Abby. How are we doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Busy day at work, but doing all right.
So
It's
what
really,
do you?
it's really hard to have a podcast and have a job, isn't it?
Yes.
Because a podcast is a job.
Yes, it is. I mean, it really is. And I mean, I actually have multiple channels, which I've kind of slowed down to just this, the political matrix for right now. But I do have three other channels.
Yeah, I forget what your other channels are actually.
Pull up what?
I basically just
If,
follow the political matrix, but I think
if
was it Hebrew
well,
Hebrew
if you
apologetic?
apologetics.
Yeah.
well, if you put them in the private chat, we can like put a banner at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
How
Well, I
about
mean,
that?
if everybody follows me in political matrix, they can get to me from everything. And I think on the political matrix, you can go to the channels that I have listed on there. Because my original channel, it started off what I've been thinking with Marcus Cage, and so that's my OG channel. And then when I started the political matrix, that's when I brought Chris and a couple other people along, and Chris is the only one who's been able to put up with me, I guess.
Well, I do wanna give a shout out to all those who are here, that because this is at a different time than we're usually at 5 p.m. Central, and now we're here at like 15 p.m. Central. So I just want to say to our day ones, Sean, thank you so much for being here. Jacqueline, and I know Jacqueline, I know it's late for you in the UK. Um,
Oh, definitely. Well,
Edwards,
shout out to those in the UK also.
yeah, Desert Mantis, shout out to you. Desert Mantis should have he should have a wrench
Well,
for sure.
good to see you, Desert Mantis. He hasn't been tuning in as often lately, but always good to see you. There's lots of content
And
out there to watch. So
also Mama Mastermind Hour, Mother Hour. It's good to see you here.
yes, good to see you always, Mother Mind. We were trying, I guess,
We
land.
all call it something different.
We're gonna
Say
land on a
again.
solid nickname.
We all said something different. Mother Hour,
Oh, I know,
Mother
I know.
Mind.
That's what I'm
What is
saying.
her name? What is her name? We keep saying
I
different things.
see. I'm
Some of
going
us
by
say
what folks
Mother
say in the
Mind
chat.
Hour. You say Mother Hour.
I say
Just
Mother
don't
Hour.
call her a mother.
That's right.
Because our other co-host,
She is our mother though. She's
How
our
I'm
about we
not
mother.
just
sure
stop at Mother?
if
Mother.
Chris knows about Mastermind, our other co-host for our other podcast, or I shouldn't say ours because it's more Abby's and Mastermind's. They co-host the Civilian Discourse, and he's been taking a break for the past few weeks. So Cheryl Smith would be, I guess, Mastermind's mother, and then Mastermind's
Nice.
also got a co-host is his wife, who does some helping out. So
Better half hour.
yeah,
Mhm.
our family, I guess.
Thank you,
It's our
Jacqueline.
family.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
Mother
see. I
Mind
see.
Hour. That's her name. Mother Mind Hour. Let me
And
put that.
I know Desert Mantis also, I believe.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
he's around sometimes. Yeah. Oh, there's
Cobra's
what's up,
here.
Cobra?
Hi, Cobra.
So
So,
And Chris will be joining us shortly. So
okay.
good.
I've had a pretty exhausting day, so I apologize, young Morpheus, if my mind is not here entirely, because it's some place else. I assure you.
oh,
We were talking about this earlier, Nahilo.
Yeah.
I had to take a psych evaluation test. 1,100 questions.
jeez.
Yeah, it was like 5 hours.
For in order to get a job. It's not like you went because you wanted to get like a psych evaluation to go see a psychologist for help. It's
It
like,
was for a job.
yeah.
What kind of job is that?
Job.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that many jobs that
Did
ask
you want to
things
tell
like
let
that.
Sorry. Yeah. No, did you want to let them know what job that was, or you want to keep that confidential a bit, or?
I don't
Oh,
want to
if it
get
needs to be
Yeah.
confidential, I won't
Yeah.
ask. I won't ask.
yeah, I don't want to get doxxed.
Okay.
But
Perfectly fine.
it's been a long journey.
Plus, if
Yeah.
you don't even get it, yeah.
Well, and it's like I'm careful also. I'll tell people like what I do for a living, but I don't tell people where I work. I mean, I don't want to have anybody just showing up at my job.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna ask what you did for a living there.
I work for a pump and boiler company.
Nice.
And so that's what I do out here in California, Southern California. I'm in the LA area.
Well, it's good
Oh,
work.
what part? What part? A lot of my
Um,
family lives in LA, Glendale area,
I know, I
Oakland.
know, I know. Oh, okay. So more towards the Bay Area.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually in LA County. So right around the Long Beach to Compton area, all right in that area.
Hmm.
I've been to Compton once or twice.
We used to be part of the RBN Long Beach. You know, I'm not sure if you're aware of that. With the RBN, CJ had brought us on, so it's a
Hmm.
ironic little reminder. You know.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
really?
haven't talked to CJ in a while, but I think we follow each other. Like I'm familiar with well all of most of RBN I follow and we kind of go back and forth. Um I definitely call Sabby and JB friends. I've had them on and I've been on their shows. And then I always pick I'm still trolling Nick. So I'm openly trolling Nick
Mm.
because Nick has told me he was going to come on the show and I'm like, "See, that's how you do it." I mean, you from Kansas City, Missouri, I'm from Kansas City, Kansas, so I see how you treating people. Mhm. You ain't got no love for the
Hmm.
Kansas side. It's
Ain't no
like, mhm.
love in the heart of the city.
And he told me I was ugly and I can't read good.
Oh, nice.
I'm sorry if y'all don't know. I mean, I know for those who are familiar with my show, I mean it can be kind of more serious sometimes how I am, but I'm actually a lot more laid back and like to crack jokes and have some fun.
Right. Well, we're more on the communist side, so but we're I'm aware that you're not yourself a communist. How would you maybe describe what?
How would I describe myself? At one point I would describe myself as more of an Epicurean. Um, but these days I kind of believe it all depends on how we use the political systems. um I believe if they're used in the proper manners and there's proper regulations, each one can be done okay. And it also depends on the size of a government and country and populations and GDP and all those things involved, and which systems that I kind of feel work best for each situations.
Something like a pragmatist sort of, you know.
Yeah, I would say I'm overall a pragmatist, but if it was up to me, I definitely believe in a strong social safety net. Um, I do believe in a little bit of room for entrepreneurs to be able to have some creativity. When I was overseas, stationed in Europe, um, I love the social safety net that I saw in France and Italy and in Great Britain, and some of the things I saw over there. It, I guess, awakened me to the problems within our American system. And so
Mm.
from seeing those different things, it definitely gave me a different outlook. Um, and by the way, I'm former military, if you didn't know. But repenting military, I'll tell you that much.
So
Repenting veteran.
ex-military is the best military, you know.
Yeah.
But
I tell people in my defense, when I joined the military, I don't believe there was nearly as much awareness and information as it is now for people. Like if you're going in now, you're kind of just making a choice to override certain things and say, you know what, hey, I don't really care about all that, or this is more important. in my life than those other things that are going on. So, I mean, I signed up at what 17 when I went in, and thank you, Desert Mantis. When I went in, I came from a military family. I was very ignorant to a lot of the downsides of what we were actually doing. And when I actually saw combat zones and saw what we did over there, and saw how capitalism uses the military, um, it was very eye opening. I'll say that much.
So you're basically talking about how like people it's mind blowing to me how much people like say, "Oh, thank you for your service," and I'm like, "Service? These are pawns being used to steal resources from brown and black people.
Hmm.
That's not service.
Yeah.
That's exploitation
Yeah.
by way of colonialism. So maybe not,
Yeah.
but also like feel pity for them in some type of way because they are gaining some type of PTSD because properly they didn't properly understand what was happening at the time,
Hmm.
and a lot of us didn't,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So I'm sorry. That's really
Yeah.
that's a better way. I shouldn't say thank you for your service. I should say more like I'm sorry.
Well, how I kind of
I'm sorry
word
you
it
had to go through that.
when I talk to other veterans, I kind of say thank you for your gesture,
Mm,
because many of us did go in with these great intentions.
mm-hmm,
Um, Granted, you hear plenty of horror stories about things which service members do, but just like in everything, you're always going to have these outliers and people who do things, and then sometimes you're manipulated to do things that you don't realize that you're on the wrong side of until later on.
mm,
So like I had the mindset, especially going in, that I would rather risk my life for others back home so they would never have to do something in that situation. Thinking wholesome, and I had plenty of family who was military. And when because one thing I'll tell people, the military is extremely compartmentalized. You can be working in a shop kind of pushing papers and have no clue about something horrendous somebody else is doing halfway around the world,
mm.
which is unjustifiable. And then sometimes it takes for you to have certain conversations with people other places, or literally be guarding CEOs while they're figuring out how they can take more opium out of Afghanistan. Things like that kind of are pretty eye-opening.
Well, it's more about like what do you do when you learn the nature of what you're engaged in.
Hmm.
Because then when people learn and then carry on with it, then you become more of a guilty party. Because
Oh, exactly.
the problem with the military, it's not the military is not really a problem. Like a military of a healthy nation is meant for like self defense, and it's really
Hmm.
imperialism that's the issue. So
Hmm.
when you join the military of an imperialist nation, you're more of an oppressor. That is the reason why another nation would require their military in the first place.
So
Exactly.
so when we take that from a micro scale, right, and
Hmm.
and and take it down to a micro scale, it's the same thing with the police. Like they are there to protect property and
Hmm.
not people, right?
Right.
So um, if we could just reimagine these entities,
Hmm.
because in a way they're needed, but they need to be reimagined
Right.
Yeah.
and they need to be like revamped
Hmm.
and restored into some type of humanity.
Well, and I would say I would go a step further with the police force, because there's no way you're a police officer and you don't know the horrendous stuff that's going on. I mean, they all know what each other are doing. They all know that cop who slams somebody's head up against a car when he doesn't have to. They all know that cop that will intentionally fudge his reports so that he can get his quotas up. They all know at least a handful of cops directly. Not like, oh, I think maybe some. They all know somebody who's a bad cop, and
Mm-hmm.
they all just protect it and they all go
Mm-hmm.
along with it. And that's where the sickness really comes in. Even the military now, you might know that some bad things are going on somewhere, but you may never see any of it.
Mm-hmm.
You may spend your whole career, let's say, like for instance, I worked weapons, um and well, started off in weapons. And so we're for us, you get numb to what you're doing and don't even think about the fact of when you're sending off weapons and they're not coming back, more than likely they're getting used, and more than likely you're destroying somebody's country and somebody's life. But at
Mm-hmm.
1920, that's not crossing your mind. It's, we just need to get this shipment, we pack this stuff up, we get it on the trucks, get it to the flight line, load it on the ship, blah blah blah, whatever. And so you don't think about any more than that. You think
Well,
about getting my work done and then going home. And
whew.
so it does not dawn on you till later on what you're actually doing. And
Wow.
then you have sometimes where um like when you're within other units, like for instance EOD, and you might be diffusing landmines and bombs and IEDs. In your mindset, from your perspective, you're diffusing this thing so that you can protect and save lives, not thinking about the fact that you really shouldn't be there at all in the first place. And so, like for instance, in Bosnia and Kosovo, we're clearing areas that so that they can start rebuilding to have people move back in. And since my school had a bunch of Bosnian refugee students, from their perspective, we were looked at as liberators from Milosevic. But at the same time, every conflict we're not looked at that way. And from, say, the Bosnian perspective, yeah, we were looked at as liberators, but to an Albanian, to some of these other people, we're not necessarily looked at as the good guy.
May I ask you a question about that? And before I do,
Sure.
I just want to say this because we always want to recognize all our friends in the chat. Certified Sachi, hello.
And
I
new
just want to
viewer.
make sure that we knew that you were here. So, hello.
Oh, I
Um,
love that because I love the engagement with when I
yeah,
talk to my chat also. I mean, I feel like add everybody into the conversation, treat it like we're
yeah,
all just sitting in a big room.
exactly, exactly. Um,
A small channel.
so, yeah, we're a small channel, so we can
Oh,
do that more
we're
here.
small.
Yeah,
We're
no,
still small.
I'm saying these
Okay.
big channels, you try and get in that chat, and it goes by so fast. It's not really much point. So
So I feel like it's more fun over here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, so I have a friend who did two tours in Iraq and
Mm-hmm.
tours. I said tears the first time, didn't I? Two
Yeah.
tours in Iraq and two tours in Afghanistan. Afghanistan. Sorry. And she was like a communications director, so
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't on the ground, but she
Mm-hmm.
was giving orders,
Yeah.
right? And she would have to listen to as she would give orders of men and women to go to certain places, and she would have to hear the aftermath of the order she gave,
Mm-hmm.
and she can't get that out of her head.
Mm-hmm.
And she is not right. She's right, but she's not. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
she lost something.
Oh, I
oh
understand.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I've gone through a lot with her. Beautiful, beautiful person. She just has this thing that's
Mm-hmm.
happening in her head, and that's happening to a lot of of these people is PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to derail the conversation, but can you make a comparison to PTSD and PSSD, post traumatic slave PTSS? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I could definitely see a correlation.
And
Um,
for the audience, may I just say what PTSS is? Post traumatic slave syndrome,
mm-hmm,
and that was coined by Dr. Joy DeGruy. Correct?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Um, one of the biggest ways I see, because a lot of times when you're already in and you're giving orders, and because see, the first thing the military does is they break you down. It's the
Mm,
very first thing they do. They break you down to turn you from that square peg to that round peg that's going to fit where they need you to fit.
mm,
And while doing that at the same time, you rely on the camaraderie of the fellow troops that are around you, the men, women, who are around you. And so that's who you focus on. And so those relationships you build, for instance, if it's the three of us, I'm thinking about how can I make sure Abby and Mikhail are okay? How can I just cover them as long as they get back to their family, their kids? That's my focus. And so you narrow out from that. And the same thing you would have on a plantation, as in you're making sure that we just keep our head down and we don't bring attention from the big house onto us, so we don't incur any kind of punishment. And so through that watching out for your family unit, you get trained and beat down mentally, to just a self-preservation level, and you don't think about the bigger causes of what are going on. Glad you joined us.
bye,
uh,
Jacqueline. It's very late for her.
um,
It's extremely late for her. So
well, hopefully she'll watch the rest
I'm
and
glad she
come back.
just popped in.
Hopefully
Sorry to
she'll come
interrupt.
back and watch the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
But
will. She will. We
but
love her.
when you break a person down and you break them down to this just responsive, protect, defend, um it strips away a lot of the logic. And so what you had for a lot of troops as they got out, or it turns back to just camaraderie and sometimes defense, because it's shame that's involved sometimes with some of the things you've done. And once you're more cognizant of what you were doing, the same thing with you know uh post slavery,
Sorry.
some of them, because of your liberty, your decision making, and all that taken away, and you feeling a sense of shame, how you were beat down and forced to do something, it that weighs. And um, a lot of people, I don't know how many people have studied into this, but a lot of things which you experience, those experiences pass down generationally, especially certain traumas. And if you've experienced some of these traumas, especially like in the Black community, and I would extend it to many indigenous populations who have went through systematic trauma, especially over decades and centuries and generation after generation, that trauma is passed down.
Mm-hmm.
And
In your
mhm,
DNA,
yes,
exact. Even may I
sure,
interject for a
sure,
second?
sure. Yes.
Okay, so what you were saying was making me think about what they the strategy of they would let like one slave go free, but
Hmm.
that slave had to tell on other slaves. That's how
Hmm.
they made the house slave.
Yeah.
So that slave was wanting their freedom so bad that they would tell on their other slaves that were like trying to get free,
Hmm.
or like trying to work with other slaves to, you know, to escape.
Yep.
And so you had that one, if you could let one slave free a year,
Hmm.
right? Then every slave is on edge because you don't know who to trust.
Hmm.
So can we correlate that to what's going on in our modern day society with all of these like bourgeoisie, PMC class,
Mm-hmm.
black politicians, the
Mm-hmm.
black caucus, like all of these, the black newscasters, all of these people who are not in our best interests. They are not telling us what we need to know to free ourselves from this cycle. If that
Well,
makes sense.
oh, it makes perfect sense. And I went into studying how they manifested a lot of that control directly after slavery. As you started to have like freedmen start building themselves up and starting businesses and farming off the land and having their own agency again, as they started to see, okay, well, wait a minute, these are just not some idiotic people, these are people who can stand on their own. They didn't need to be enslaved, and so that also elicited a fear in the ruling class. And so what they decided to do is, we have to stop them because we don't want them to ever start to gain some kind of autonomy, because then they'll think back to the things that we did to them and they'll want revenge or vengeance. And
Mm.
so that led to, how do we keep this same power dynamic? And what they did was, they created what's called the Black Boule. And when you get into the Black
We were just
Boule
talking about that.
and you get into the Prince Hall
The Roland
Freemasons,
Martins and the
yes, and you get into the Divine Nine and you understand how those institutions work. It was touted in the Black community as, this is an avenue that you can raise to the top. And it gets kind of complex when you really get into it, because some of the people who you're going to feel some complex feelings about when you find out about some of these people. Like, for instance, Martin Luther King was part of the Boule. And
Makes it hard for you to trust, right?
oh,
You're
yes,
looking for an ally in
oh, we got
history, a dead
oh.
ally, right? Someone
and
that you can learn
so yeah, so then you start like, okay, so what do I do with that? Because then where he started to make his turn and his pivot, you don't hear about that. You hear about his "I have a dream" speech, which, by the way, his "I have a dream" speech was changed and altered by Bayard Rustin and by John Lewis, to modify it, going back to that Boule, because they weren't going to go to the mall. They wanted to go all the way to the White House and to Congress. And that's where they wanted that march to go. And so they relegated it back to the mall. They softened the speech, but the speech which you really should hear about is the mountaintop speech,
Mm.
because the mountaintop speech is where his mindset was at in his final days.
Well, may I ask? Okay, because a lot of people like to quote the "I Have a Dream" speech, but there
Mm-hmm.
are many speeches that he gave
Mm-hmm.
that white people do not want to talk about, because it's talking about we coming to get our check,
Oh
like
yeah.
stuff like like the white liberal. I was I was confused. Like I really thought that they were for me, but they were for me for an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to hear those speeches, but all they want to tout is the content of my character, color of my skin. That's all
Mm-hmm.
they got. Okay. So I wanted to ask, for Martin Luther King, and you're saying he was part of the
Well, he
bourgeoisie.
started to
Well,
break away, and that's what got him, that's what
That's
got him in hot
unalive.
that's
water.
what got him
Yeah,
right
yeah,
Unalive.
unalive. Okay.
exactly.
I feel like a
Okay.
lot of these, if you look at where they go for education, they tend to go to a university and then join a fraternity, and
Hmm.
that seems to be the recruiting mechanism. So
Oh yeah, I can show you, as far as, and I could pretty much do this with all of Congress, but just speaking about the Black Boule for right now, last I noticed, I think it's roughly about 85% belong to one of the Divine Nine sororities and fraternities. The other probably 15% or so are legacy. You start looking back and, oh, Jesse Jackson's son, and this congressperson over here who was a first congresswoman in the 19 first black congresswoman in the 1970s. This is her nephew, and you start finding the ones who aren't part of the Divine Nine. Almost all of them, it came through some form of like legacy, cronyism, things like that.
You know what I find interesting is um, like boomers. Sorry.
Mhm.
And a lot of black people think John Lewis is the shit. Okay. Because he got the African American Museum.
Mhm.
John Lewis was part of the Black Panthers. If he was really the shit, he'd be dead.
Yeah. Same with Bobby Rush. I mean, Bobby Rush was a Black Panther also, and he's one of the only ones who made it out.
This is where we're talking about people I should know. Basically, I have to admit some ignorance here.
No,
That's
no,
okay.
and
That's
but
okay, Michael. Because there's a lot of people you talk about that I don't know. So we that's why we do this, right? Hi,
but it's
Wolfie.
good that
Wait. Hi,
you're
Wolfie.
open. That's the main part, is to be open to receiving this information. I can't tell you how many people who don't look like me and Abby who are not trying to hear none of this.
Mm-hmm. Like if you ain't call Michael or Fred Hampton, if you
Mhm.
ain't that type of Black Panther, like if you didn't go to prison or dead and you went to Congress, then you already know.
Hell, I'll take the John Brown over a Bobby Rush any day.
Any day.
Any day.
Any
It-
day.
you
Hi,
know,
John H. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm sorry. I have to.
no, you good.
Our
You
day
good.
ones, we got to say hello to
Yo,
them
no, you
or
good. And
welcome
hello
them.
to all of you
Right?
guys. And thank you for joining late. And it's blame it on me for you guys having to be up late.
It's all
But
good.
there's so much, and I can go through a lot of different other sororities, the skull and bone, skull and crossbones, and I can really go in on all of those different things throughout all of Congress to show you, like, for
Hmm.
instance, what's his name, Senator Kennedy, who talks with that heavy country accent, but a lot of people don't realize he's a graduate of Yale Law School. I mean, this is a very,
And
very
Bush,
educated man who acts like I'm just some country bumpkin. I don't know what's going
Bush
on.
did the
John
same
Kennedy?
thing.
Yeah,
Is he
no,
talking
not
about
John
John
Kennedy.
Kennedy?
I would like to play
Um,
this. I would like to play this video.
Bush is the same way.
Since you mentioned that, I would like to play this video
I can't stand John
from
Kennedy.
may he rest in peace. This journalist, I forget his name, but I have him saved. And you just keep talking, and I'll come back to it. Okay?
I'm trying to remember what is that Kennedy's name? Senator. I'm blanking
John
on the.
Kennedy, huh?
No, I don't think it's John Kennedy.
You talking about from Louisiana?
Yeah. Oh, it
It's
is. You're
John.
right. You're right. It's John Kennedy. You're
Trust
right.
me, I know.
My apologies.
He talked like
Yes.
he have no front, no top teeth.
Oh, by the
Yes.
way, that's Black Life over there. Let me show you her avatar. I'm just gonna bring her on stage real quick.
Hello,
What's up,
hello,
There
Bubba?
she
Black Light.
is. She's in the background
Appreciate it.
adminning the chat for us, so
Oh,
we can talk.
fancy.
Yeah, she's fine. Yeah.
A good time to maybe
So
talk about her show on Tuesday, since for viewers
yes,
who maybe not live.
uh, yes. Thank you, Michael. So on Tuesdays, if you come here at 5 p.m. Central, which we're probably gonna have to change the time, but I don't know when. But Black Life, we talk about Black issues only.
Why not
Whereas all
only?
the other times we talk about everything and anything. But on her channel, we only talk about Black Life.
Hey, Nahilo.
Hey,
Abby is so her mind's so on that 1100 questions. It's like we mostly talk about black issues.
They
You
don't.
We
gotta,
talking
They don't
you
about
know.
gotta.
all.
They don't know what you're
She's
talking
code
about.
switching because
Oh my
the
bad.
psych evaluation.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
she
don't
had
know
like
what you're
50
talking
different.
about. T.
All right, I'm just saying you had like a 50 different levels of.
I had to take a 1100.
Yeah, you told him.
Question test today.
I wouldn't even that kind of thing keeps me out of the job if they're asking that kind of thing for me. I'm just a little bit, I'll go take my minimum wage. That's not enough.
I
That's
mean,
not
you
really a
already
solution, but that's what I do.
you already know all the amount of stuff I had to do
Yeah.
since for a long time. So.
Well, I can be too stubborn. We were talking about how some of these qualities, a lot of people would consider more like neutral or positive, and not just simply negative. But they're using these tests in a way. I find that I always harp on eugenics on this channel of ours. The chat will kind of knows how I maybe fixate on that a little bit, but
You
I'd
like a
say that's part of
bloodhound on it.
eugenics. That's where they're selecting for character traits who they want to be allowed into the workforce, and then over time, if they get away with that, they will produce the workforce that they want, and they will starve to death those people who are denied jobs and stuff. So.
Oh yeah,
No,
that's completely correct there. Like, and when you talked about the eugenics thing, it reminded me of this one story that we covered, which a lot of people don't know that this is something that they're working on. They're working on gene editing. And so eventually their goal is so that you could select the traits for your future offspring.
Oh, don't get him started.
That's we could get into on the Roe v. Wade there, but for a long time I was a supporter of the Roe v. Wade and everything, and abortion rights. Sure, I didn't really see any reason to maybe have any opposition. I'm not against abortion, but now I find specifically reason to be against Roe v. Wade, where I think that it's been written in such a way as to allow a eugenic character selection of traits.
Well, that's a crazy thing about it. That's what made me like really have to reevaluate a lot of my political views, because for the good things that they were trying to do with it, I was starting to see the bad thing that they were trying to slip in on the backside of it. And that's what made me get pause. Well, but see, a lot of times that's that phrase, ignorance is bliss. Because when you don't know what's going on, it's easier for you to just go along, with the program.
Go along to get along.
Exactly. But like, what's her name? Margaret Sanger. When you go into like the Margaret Sanger stuff, and then you find out the ties from Margaret Sanger into I'm trying not to get y'all in trouble, but I guess I could just say the name. But Bill Gates, his father was one of the biggest backers of Margaret Sanger in Planned Parenthood.
Ding, 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 ding.
And so why do we have a guy who made his money dealing with patents for computer tech and things like that, who is mostly focused on something completely different, which he has no experience on? I don't know.
Good question.
Because he wants to control.
Okay,
He controls our agriculture.
Devil's advocate here.
He controls health, medical
The
areas.
admin has entered the chat.
I'm just saying.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying. Look at how much
No,
Bill Gates actually
cooking.
controls and influences. The dude is like, he has his hand in everything.
Yep. I mean, this dude is he's buying small lakes and rivers in certain counties. Well, why is he doing that? Also, why is Mark Cuban buying whole towns?
And a lot of land and a lot of
They're actually playing Monopoly with our lives. Just to let these, I mean, that's basically what's happening. BlackRock is three of those companies that control everything. BlackRock, Vanguard, who else?
And
Blackstone, Vanguard.
Oh, Blackstone. What I said?
Vanguard. And they're like intertwined.
Yeah, I saw this thing today.
And it's what, Berkshire Hathaway? Is that the third one?
There's a whole bunch,
Yeah,
and
there's
but
a
it's
bunch.
to figure out what are the
List
main
three main
right?
ones.
ways they put them under their subsidiaries, because
Yeah.
I mean, you got C Street that's involved in a lot of stuff too, which is the glove that kind of hides some of this stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
It's all about
when-
controlling everything, bro. It's
well,
it's a real monopoly game.
well, and this is something like that I'll say to add on to what Black Light was talking about, and I have to say this all the time to some of my friends who are more on the libertarian side, who try to push this, oh, this, oh, everything's not racist. Well, you may not be racist. You may not be. You may not encounter any of this stuff, but the people, the powers that be at the top, they are for sure racist. They are for sure white supremacists.
So how can they tell you that to ignore it or pretend it's not a part of everyday life?
So I found a clip. Hi, Myra Page
from South Africa. Much love.
Boom, boom, boom.
Always good to see you.
Boom, boom, boom. Thank you for
One day, hopefully I can. I would love to go to South Africa one day, man.
So I do have that clip, but I don't want to belabor the point. I want to bring it up at a good point. I want everybody to get their point across before I pull this clip up. So, were you done, Black Life? Okay.
What clip? I'm not sure what
Young Morpheus. So it's a clip about how the let me just play it. If you're ready, you want to hear it, here you go. Okay.
Mind the technical.
Is it showing?
It's a bit slow. It's showing
There
now.
it is. Okay.
The kind of politics we have now, where the left is represented by this kind of Obama Macron style centrism, where you're both for the market and for bureaucracy at the same time, is kind of horrible, right? The only possible appeal of that kind of politics is, well, at least they're not Nazis, right? So what they want is the left to be this kind of mishmash of bureaucratic market centrism, and the right to be outright fascist. To set the ball rolling in an actual left direction will make that centrism look like utterly unappealing. In France, sometimes they talk about the extreme center, and I think that's a fitting phrase. It strikes me that what's called the moderates are the most immoderate people possible. And the reason why they're so uncompromising, I think, is because they realize they don't have a lot of positive arguments. They're not really for anything. I mean, somebody like Obama, the reason he worked was because he looked like the kind of guy who would have a vision. He acted like a visionary. He had the intonation. He had the way of standing and looking into the distance like he really believed in something. And it shows you something about just how much visionary politics has been killed. It didn't even seem to occur to people to ask what his vision actually was, right? Because it turns out, insofar as he had a vision, his vision was not to have a vision. He believed in pragmatism and compromise and so forth. And that's what the center has been reduced to. It's become this pure set of performative symbols. And at the same time, you get to feel morally superior, which is ultimately what centrism, what liberal centrism is all about, is the ability to feel better than other people. So there is a kind of a symbiosis whereby the right wing pretend to be stupid, like George Bush II sort of perfected this. Like, I'll act like a yokel. All of the liberals will make fun of me as an idiot. Everybody who resents the sort of cultural elite for having monopolized all the good jobs will look at them sneering at me and say, yeah, I bet those guys feel the same way about me as they feel about Bush. I'll vote for Bush. Ha ha ha, stick it to him, right? That shtick, Trump is just doing it in a more extreme version of the same thing. Johnson's doing the same thing. You act like an idiot, the people who are sort of educated elite make fun of you, and it works. Now, who's really the idiot, right? People keep falling for the same stupid trick over and over and over again. So there's a symbiotic relationship between these centrists, who are just sort of sneering elitists, and these guys who are the scam artists, who pretend to be yokels, who pretend to be idiots, or pretend to be fascists. They're not even real fascists. They're kind of phony fascists. They are trying to set up a situation where those are the only two viable political choices, because they both feed off and complement one another.
Always good to see David.
So basically, rest in peace.
the last election in the UK showed anything, it's
Sorry. Okay. So Bush isn't from Texas. He's like from Boston or Pennsylvania. I can't even remember. Like some northeastern state.
Yeah, he's from Massachusetts. Last I heard.
Massachusetts. Okay. He moved to Texas on purpose for the election.
Yes, he did. I mean, it was great with that he threw in Boris Johnson because it's the same thing. I don't know how many people follow, like, because we follow local politics globally, and so I definitely pay attention a lot to the UK elections and things like that. And Boris Johnson did the same thing. Boris Johnson is extremely intelligent.
Same thing.
Extremely intelligent, but he plays the dummy. And the same thing with W. Now, W, the only thing about it is he's kind of more of a party boy. So he is smart. He just would prefer to not have to do anything. And that's the reason why they brought in Dick Cheney. And so Dick Cheney could do all the heavy lifting while he could just sit back.
Well, Dick Cheney is Halliburton.
Halliburton, KBR.
I'd like to take a moment because this is a new person in our chat.
Oh, that's Chris, which he'll be hopping in soon.
Oh,
recognize
that's
the
your
picture. That's
okay.
I guess we're waiting for.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Chris.
Well, he'll be hopping in.
Look at him looking all GQ as usual.
Well, I have to confess that I've never seen your podcast. I'm a caregiver for my mother, so
okay.
I don't have much time.
Oh, I understand.
And I try.
It's hard to watch everybody else's channels. It really is.
I try.
I'm the one with the free time to do that. Yeah.
I just happen to be able to, with my job, a lot of times put one headphone in and just kind of let something play and pause when somebody says something to me, but handle a couple of different things at once. But yeah, I understand if you don't have that ability. Oh yeah, I mean it helps. I could, like today, I was receiving I had to go receive a truck and then go get orders because we have inventory coming up. So I'm focusing on that. So some of the stuff is where I don't have to focus all the time like that intently. That's the reason why I have time to be able to listen to lectures and documentaries and all kind of other stuff and all different chats going on. And then sometimes I just put stuff in like 1.5 speed and zoom through it.
I work in kitchens, so I typically listen to music while I'm working. I find that for cooking, it feels like it's a little bit better to have some tunes to listen to.
Well, because I got used to that when I worked armored truck. I used to listen to a lot of talk radio then.
Well, it looks like our
your co-host is here.
Finally.
There my dude is. What up, Laws?
What up, man? What's going on? Mikhail, Abby.
Now we cooking with grease.
Nice to meet you. Kind of in person, not quite, but
correct.
I'm Niall Nostrum from the chat. Nice to see you. Right? From
yeah. I saw your name, and Marcus kind of gave me the heads up. Abby, how are you? I'm Chris.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Both of you. We've been cooking. We've been cooking, Cyrus.
No. You good? You got.
I've been enjoying it. So now it's like double the pleasure, double the fun.
And it's kind of funny when we're live. I'm a lot of times the more milder one, but Chris will tell you that's not really the case off camera.
You know what? Everybody has their.
Excuse me. I didn't say Morpheus. I don't know what I said.
Morpheus.
Never mind.
Pardon the delay.
Oh, it's all good. No, I was going to say it just depends on the topic, right? Depending on whatever the topic is, I'll be the one to go crazy, and Marcus will just sit there like, "Oh boy, here we go." and then vice versa. Whenever it's something to him, I'm like, oh shit, here we go.
That sounds like us. That sounds like us.
Something I appreciate about when I'm watching these guys, to see them get into a beef or whatever, and there can still be buds after it. Whereas some people are so fragile that if you talk to me that way or whatever, I can't trust you or whatever, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like,
correct.
We grew up in a different era. We grew up in a different era,
Sure.
and
you?
I mean, so a lot of these people that we see having all these beefs, we notice that they're a little bit younger than we are. And so we grew up where, like, I can't tell you how many friends that I grew up where we put, like, fist to mouth against each other, and hey, we were back chilling later on that day, and
yeah, even
me
if
and him, we like brothers. We argue
days.
sometimes, but we're like 98% on the same page on damn near everything.
Back in the day, we used to have one-on-ones, and then we go home, and then we hug it out. I don't know what they're doing now.
Right.
Now they shooting. Like it's all over with. Just pow pow. I'm like, what happened to the one-on-one?
They're so sensitive. Like we used to, we used to. I'm from New York, right? So, on the bus in the mornings, we would snap on each other, right? It's like, look at your book bag. It's not Jan Sport. You're not wearing Tim's. You wearing, Rugged Outdoors or Rugged Outback, whatever that brand was. Like we had jokes, and you either were sharp on your feet and you responded, or you just took your L's, stayed quiet, or you just hope somebody else jumped in and got the light off you. But you didn't go home and think about shooting up the school or committing suicide or anything like that. You just came back the next day.
Where in New York you from?
Queens.
Okay. I lived in Wooddale for a little bit, but I lived in Manhattan most of my New York days. But I'm from the South, and we Jones on each other all the time. Like, roasting is a part of Black culture. We talk about your mama, we talk about you, and it was all funny. Like we would all laugh, and the person we was roasting would have to roast back. But it didn't really mean nothing. It was just banter. And that's like the one-on-one. If it got serious, you do a one-on-one, and then you go on about your business. Now I don't know what they doing. It's like real life out here for them. And I'm just like, wait a minute. Y'all doing too much.
I have to be honest, right? I got to keep it real all the time. There's a lot of sensitive people out there, and that sensitivity goes down to like these boys who are 12, 11, 10, who are impressionable. Maybe they're not necessarily, maybe even at home is straight, maybe inside the house is straight. There's no drama. There's there's a father, there's a mother, there's no crazy mess in the house. Even kids who come from that can succumb to the streets at times. But the problem is they're sensitive. They outside, they got the social media and all this other stuff, so they get embarrassed real quick. So then they like to run inside the house, go get the strap with the switch. They all telling on themselves, which is super stupid. You getting these guns with these illegal switches on it, and you on the gram, like, yeah, we all click, look at us, yo. We all holding heat, and it makes for bad decision making. So you're sensitive, you're young, and you're hot headed. So all of that whole combination now is deadly, unfortunately.
So I'm gonna tell. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a story. I got a towel right here. My mom, she came to my house one day. I had a BB gun. It wasn't my BB gun. I think it was like one of my nephews or something. So it looked like a real gun. And she saw it. And she picked it up like this with a towel. She said, "Who is this for?" And I said, "Damn, mama, why you pick it up like that? You don't want to put your fingerprints on it."
Mama's smart.
Mama's smart. But
I
these
don't know how
days,
many bodies you got on this rifle, girl.
look, she's like, I'm going down for you. What you did? These days, mamas ain't even teaching their children none of this stuff. Like these kids are going on social media, ratting themselves out. What are you doing?
Now that is something different. That is something that's majorly different because I mean, we did have those that they would tote the tools, and I mean, because like I want to say I was a pallbearer close to 10 times before I graduated high school. Classmates that died of gun violence.
That's crazy. Say that again.
So that's crazy. Yeah,
I was a pallbearer almost 10 times, close to 10 times. Classmates who didn't make it to 18. I'll tell you that much. Wow. I mean, one of my friends, I told him, I was like, yo, Justin, be careful over at this school. It's different over there. Because I was in ROTC in high school, I went to another school that was not near my home. So the school that was next to my house, they called it Crime Dot. It was called Wyandotte High School. And like they used to have like stabbings, they would have like lockers would get burned up, and sometimes they be busting those things too. So he got into it with some kid, said some real wild reckless stuff about how he run up in his house and do this and do that, and he got kicked out of school for that. 3:00 that afternoon, broad daylight, right in front of a bank, and old boy rolled up on him and popped him right in the face.
Wow.
That's so crazy. And a lot of people think, oh, you grew up in, nothing happens in the Midwest, nothing happens in Kansas, but
it happens everywhere.
Whether you know it or not, Kansas City is probably in the top 25 most violent cities in this country.
Wow. But they try to make it seem like Chicago because that
Chicago's only 6 hours away.
Well, but that also serves the like agenda for like, Obama, black people, Chicago. When Chicago isn't even the top 10 of the murder capital cities in America. But that's the narrative that they push forward.
It's the manner in which it happens in Chicago.
I wanted to, if you guys don't mind, I want to bring up Black Life because she's she works in the schools. So before I do that, I was a substitute teacher and I had a child. She was like 15, 16. When I first met her, she was like bossing up on me. And I was like, wait, we're not doing none of this. Not in my classroom. In my classroom, these are the rules, these are the boundaries. And it got to the point where she was like policing the classroom for me. Like I didn't even have to do nothing. She was like, no, you're not going to talk to Miss Gibson like this. She ended up killing her mother.
In front of her brothers and sisters.
In front of her brother and sister.
Damn.
And she tried. Let's hold
up. Let me bring you up. I'm gonna move away for a second, and I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna let you cook because you are in the school system, and that's what we're talking about right now. So I'm gonna let you cook.
All I'm saying was she tried to convince her boyfriend to do it, and he didn't. He couldn't. So she took the gun from him. She did it herself. And did it herself. And look, that was one of our another one of my students at the same school. And he was an honor student, and for some reason he lived in a rough neighborhood, and had a lot of potential. It was just so sad of the choices, but it's the people that you are around. So he around the wrong crowd, end up trying to commit like a robbery, armed robbery, and shoots an older lady. I'm like, this stuff is. I'm shocked almost every other day at school. Cause some shit's going on, and it's not getting better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I lie. I'm lying. I don't want to focus on just negative. You have a lot of innovative students also. We have a lot of creative students who, as you guys say, if they were given the chance to be able to do and explore and be safe and think about all these things, great things, who knows what kind of shit they can change. They could be in competition with what is it, Optimus and
Optimus
Elon
Prime?
Musk. Yeah, Elon Musk robot. I'm just saying we have kids that can excel if given the chance. You know what I mean? But it's a lot of bullshit around them.
Yeah.
And they don't have the structure that allows them to like block all these things away from them, because they think that this is they have the TV is raising them.
No, it's a cell phone now. It's not a TV.
Cell phones and TV, social media and stuff.
Tablets.
Tablets, because their parents are so busy trying to make a living that they don't have time to watch them. So the things that are raising them don't come from us, because we don't control the media.
Okay.
So the things that are raising them want to raise them this way.
It's intentional.
It's very intentional.
We just saw this video with these 3 teenage boys from Florida. I think it was Florida, that the cops were interrogating them about a murder. You remember?
Yes.
And the parents was there. And the crazy shit is, you have parents. It was 2 mothers that was with the young teenage boys that were under suspicion of being the perpetrators. But I'm just saying, my point about the mom, she was there, but she had to leave to go to work. She couldn't. She said to the police, "Don't question my son anymore."
Right.
She went to work, and guess what? The son kept talking.
He waived his Miranda rights.
Right. They tricked him out of it. Or just allowed him to.
His Miranda rights, even though his mom told him,
don't question,
question my son without me being there, because she had to go to work. She had to go make money to pay the bills.
And she was getting a promotion or some shit.
So what were you saying, Chris?
No, I was saying that's an unfortunate situation, but it's a lesson. Like, listen, I coach basketball, right? 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade basketball, right? That's where I was just coming from today. I was running a little late. I'll just finish practice. So, I deal with a lot of these boys, they're very bright. They're just very distracted. They're the ability to go from being super focused to being super distracted is even faster than us. It moves at a mile a minute almost, like just the thoughts and the ability to just grab your phone and be lost in, whether it's music, whether it's social media, whether it's even if it's something that you like, documentaries or stuff like that. Just you can see where they're spaced out at times, where they're all over the place. So unfortunately, we have also we've gone away from discipline. I don't necessarily mean physical discipline all the time, of slapping a kid, snatching a kid, even though that might be called for every so often. But just that stern structure of, I told you something once and there's going to be consequences. And that's it. And the parents understood that, and they worked with you towards that end. Now I put Marcus's son in check. Marcus or his mother's calling me, asking me why we talking to her child that way. Why didn't we do this? Can we give him a break? Why didn't we give him a pass? So it's you have a battle, and it's almost like a kid is in the middle where the parents are fighting and they could get away with murder. At that point, it's just like that with the school system. You have you have some discipline here, no discipline here. Kid is in the middle doing whatever they want.
How should I call you? See why?
Just call him Chris.
You can call him Chris.
Okay,
Easy.
Chris. So Chris, Black Life was she was state champion in basketball, also a basketball coach.
Track. I coach basketball and track, but
okay, I'm sorry, state champion in track, and
just athlete all around. It sounds like
coach basketball. So we talk about this a lot, and a lot of times these days, parents want to give their children participation trophies. For what?
It's a beauty bias, I'd say. You know, they want.
You know what?
Did you?
You're too nice. You're trying.
Did you earn it?
It's the reason why there's no discipline anymore is because like everyone's thinking that to say something negative to your kid is like emotional abuse. So we're trying to figure out how to discipline them without even disciplining them. So you just can't do that. At some point, you're gonna have to be a little less positive and a little more negative. But what are you gonna do?
When I came home with a 97, now I never liked this. I never liked this. Still to this day, I don't like it. But I come home with a 97, and I'd be like, Daddy,
why you ain't get 100?
Why I ain't get 100? That was what you would ask me.
Oh, dog.
That happened to you too, Chris? My dad was like that.
Yo, he could have got 100. You see?
Why you didn't get 100? Where'd you go wrong?
If you know your schoolwork, like you know them damn songs, then you should pass 100 every time. Like, oh boy, here we go.
Here we go. Yep. I wasn't allowed to be scared to get in front of an audience and perform. I had to get up and play piano. I had to do gymnastic tournaments. I had to do whatever I told them I was interested in. Oh, is that right? Ballet, whatever. Well, you better put it in, because that's what you said you was interested in. So you better do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't no turning back.
It's a fear of capitalism too that a lot of parents maybe aren't so educated about. They don't even see capitalism as the problem, but that is what's driving them. They're afraid that if they don't get their kid to be one of the successful ones, they see what it's like for the low wage. You know?
Or conversely, they don't teach. It is, and to add to it, I would say, not only that they don't teach them how to be capitalists either. Right? You may not like it. You can see the pitfalls of it. You may want a different system. You can advocate for a different system. However, the system we live in is a capitalist system, if you will, right? Or some sort of oligarchy controlled, whatever. But the fact remains is there are ways to manipulate the system financially and that you can come up. Unfortunately, that entrepreneurial spirit isn't really pushed or taught in our spheres a lot of the time, because it's just like, hey, get a job, pay your bills, get out the way, like, not to say just go get a regular job, but obviously excel in school. But a lot of the time, if you were artistic, athletic, or any of those two things, they would kind of like downplay it, unless athletics wise, it looked like you were going to get a scholarship. But other than that, it was like, all right, well, you're playing too much games. You need to focus on your work, etc. So it's
they call them the STEM professions.
Correct, and it's even, like some of the white kids.
These days, I like to call it STEAM. You have to add arts, because if you don't add arts, then you're not really stimulating
some of the white
all
kids,
of the brain.
Look, some of the white kids that grew up in the neighborhoods, near me, and those I went to school with, as we got out of school, they were very entrepreneurial, right? Starting businesses early. We were just trying to go to school, get a degree, get a job, right? They was on some, and that was encouraged in their sphere. For us, it was different, So they got the exposure. They learned things. They heard things. Us, it's a different conversation, and also too, obviously there's reasons.
Our conversation was to go work, earn money.
Yeah.
Not be
correct.
Not you're right. Yeah.
Don't think about ownership. Think about, just getting a check and getting paid well, but don't think about owning anything or being the impetus behind something.
I mean, because
But that's an older generation, so on some level, I guess.
I mean, that's an interesting. Can we go there for a second? Because that's really interesting. Because there were a lot of black towns in this country, black communities. Well, first of all, they talk about small businesses. Like small businesses are the backbone of this community. I mean, of this country. Yada yada. And it's all bullshit now because there's so many monopolies. But there was a time where small businesses were the backbone of this country. And in a lot of towns, there were black communities that had dentist office, pharmacies, grocery stores, lawyers, doctors, like all in their communities, accountants,
Banks.
all of that, banks, all of that. And what happened was some white person claimed that some black man whistled to a white woman or looked at her funny, and then all of a sudden the town got burned down and turned to a lake.
Mm-hmm.
All over this country.
Yep.
So the people
they
that were Chris, the question is, the people that were traumatized by that, they did not put forth that information down generations. I think because they were scared. Like if we do this again, this will happen to us. So we need to integrate and assimilate. Because if we don't, then
they just
look what's going to happen to us.
Well, I would say it's twofold, because it was that fear, but also bringing it back around to what we were talking about earlier with the boule. The boule was used to dissuade them from going down that road again, also by the carrot and stick. You had the stick over here, like, you do this, we're going to burn down the town, we're turning to Lake Lanier, things like that. But the carrot part was, well, if you do this, you can move into polite society, into white society. Like, for instance, the bus strike that MLK did. A lot of people don't realize that right across town, that black town had buses, not like a couple, like they had fleets of buses that ran all through that black town. The white town next to them didn't even have buses. And that bus strike, it led towards destroying that black business. And so the NAACP actually acted against some of these black towns in pushing closer towards integration. Now, I'm not making the argument against integration or anything. I'm just bringing up that that's one of the things which happened along with integration. It was a destruction of the black community. Well, first steps in dismantling the black community, because as you had those people who did prop up the black community start leaving out, it left behind the people who didn't have the economics. And so when you live in a town where you're like for instance, my county back home, when a couple of the major businesses start going away and there wasn't as many jobs there, the taxes went up. So as the taxes go up, more and more money is being taken out. So it makes it harder for you to harder and harder to get ahead. And that's what happened in a lot of those areas.
That was weird.
So may I just I just want to say hi, old man Barker. May I just speak on that a little bit, because
and XD too. I wanted to say he's from the Canadian commie community over there.
Hi, XD.
Good to see you.
What's going on, man?
What was I about to say? Okay, so it's very interesting that you talk about that with the NAACP, and like if there's ever a black leader that's really in leadership for Black people, they gonna die. Oh, hi, Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher is from I met him in one of my late night Black Indigenous groups. So it's really good to see you here. Let me see. The answers will always be convoluted when we engage in misidentity of the American Indian as Black. Yes, you can't resolve when you misidentify the population under discussion. So his what he's speaking of is like
I certainly think
a
that's
lot of
true for a certain.
a lot of Black. Well, they don't like to be called a lot of Americans that were here before Christopher Columbus was already like us. So that is
That's some
his
historical corrections that may need to be made that are
that may need to be made.
unable to
Yes,
be made because of white supremacy.
and maybe Christopher would like to come on sometime and we could discuss it because I would really love that. But the point, I forgot what I was about to say. What were we talking about? Christopher threw me off.
Well, I don't
It was
completely disagree with Christopher's assertion. I just wonder at what percentages and what levels, because some arguments that I hear lead to a suggestion that like the transatlantic slave trade like didn't even happen.
That's
And
historical, like not even
no,
revisionist.
I wouldn't say it
Like
didn't happen. I'm just going to
that's
say
what
it
I'm
misinformation.
saying.
didn't
I
happen to the
just want to know
magnitude that they claim it did.
how far are we going? Because like for instance, a Dane Calloway, for instance, believes like that there was no transatlantic slave trade. That all they did was just reclassify all the natives who were already here as black, and another population came in and assumed the mantle of Native Americans. And I'm like, I don't know. Let's just figure because we are dealing with somebody who's quite knowledgeable on history here. So I'm just trying to figure out what numbers are we at because it gets into some. I
It's
don't know.
really hard. It's really hard because the conqueror writes the history. So now you have to decipher what the hell really happened because you know you can't believe what they told you. You gotta like piece it together for yourself. So
This is where
that's the kind of work that Christopher does in the podcast that I listen to. Um, so shout out to them. I love listening to them. Although they get real dicey at times, real dicey.
There's a
So
go ahead.
I think what I was.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Chris, did you have a comment? Or
No, I was going to say there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and on top of that, you have ego and pride. So that whole mix just leads people down wrong paths, and they allow their beliefs to be cemented as opposed to being open to being wrong or being open to be course to receive some type of course correction. You know, there are things we all believed probably, let's just say 7 years ago, we all believed that right now our 2017 version of ourselves and our 2024 version of ourselves, probably they largely think alike, but there are a few things that you may have let go that because you learned certain things and you informed and you've upgraded, right? At least in your thoughts and your thought pattern. The topic that Marcus was talking about, there's a lot of I'll just be honest, there's a lot of niggas talking who don't read. You know, Marcus. See that? I tried to tell Marcus, but
I know. Chris, you just got to be you, though. You got to be you.
Yeah,
You gotta
hear a
be
lot of that in the Marxist community too. There's so much like it's kind of hard when you're not one of the ones who's done the reading to appreciate their criticism when they're so angry about people who don't read and just read the theory, right? And you'll get what I'm saying, right? But
and
it's
even
true.
And even if you don't believe, read something so that even you can take your time to deconstruct it, if you will. If somebody is holding this as truth, let me go look at it and look and see whether or not I can get behind this or I need to step away from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you start deconstructing some of this stuff, even what you read, what you might believe, like, you know, there's deeper meanings. And as you start learning certain things and looking at patterns, your mindset should change. With some people just, you know, they pour cement where they standing and that's it.
Yeah, well, I think that's about the materialism and the idealism. It seems less important until you really kind of realize what people mean with those terms. But when we're talking about evidence of some theory or other, when people are wrong about something, it's the material evidence that you need to resort to in order to actually prove someone properly right or wrong. But if someone doesn't really want to change their mind and they're more interested in the story and the narrative as opposed to evidence that should be changing their mind if they're a rational person, then
Correct.
Well,
yeah.
Speaking of that, Michael, Cobra says, "I'm sneaky. I'll learn the truth and then act dumb to find out who's who."
Well, I've done
Facts.
that.
That's,
It just
I mean,
depends on the audience.
that's a good strategy.
Absolutely.
I did that
It
at work
depends on the
today.
audience.
It
I
depends on
do
the
that all the
audience.
time.
Yeah.
I've done that
At work,
before.
they be
Like,
coming up to me.
Well,
At work, they come up to me like, you know, Trump is gonna save us. You know, he's gonna save us, this country. Chris, you know, he's gonna save us. And you know, I sit there and be like, oh, word. All right, well, you know, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I wish you well. Notice I said I wish you well, right? So
well, it some
all
of
the
it's
time.
funny to me because I love that comment there. Social media throws up a little suspense music, and everyone thinks they know shit. They're repeating dumb
Yo.
secondhand shit. And
Oh,
I mean, from somebody who
man.
I majored in history and minored in political science, and some of this stuff which I like not only just have read in a book, of like been to some of these places and have seen the archaeology to back up this information and able to understand it, and then I'll hear people just hodgepodge information together and presented it as if they're an expert on the subject. It is one of the things that's probably about the internet and social media is that's probably frustrated and maddened me the most. But to bring it back around to what you were talking about with some of the black towns and everything, because let's say, for instance, let's say the assertion that every so-called black person is 100% all natives, let's say of the ones who were descendants of slavery, let's say it's 100%. Even if it was, how would that change the situation now?
Great question.
it doesn't.
And that's my point. So they wouldn't need to lie to you on that, because that wouldn't change anything, because the people who are being called Native Americans, for people who don't believe that those are actual Native Americans, is them being known as indigenous to this land giving them any perks or giving them their land back or giving them any kind of
The
status,
power.
the tax exemptions or anything?
No, we're not
It's
nothing.
not.
We're not getting anything. May I throw a monkey wrench
Mhm.
in the conversation? So knowing now that I know you're a historian,
Mhm.
there is an assertion that the Grand Canyon, like there's Sphinx and
Mhm. Oh yeah, I know
hieroglyphics.
all about that. Mhm.
Okay, do you mind speaking on that for a moment?
Sure. I can give my theories on
Okay.
it. What I believe is, I think it connects back to an earlier time period of Pangea, and I think
Mhm.
that when we had Pangea, I think that those land spaces that traveled all the way from what would be East Africa all the way across, I believe those empires were much larger. I mean, if you look at some older maps, they called almost all of Africa Ethiopia at one point, and that was even under the Egyptian empire. So these empires were long and massive, and if you go into just the difference of like somehow like the Sahara wasn't always Sahara. That was grassy lands and it was plush and everything. And you have even that area which is called the Eye of the Sahara, which some people might think is Atlantis. But that goes into another thing. I believe that a lot of those structures, some of that is hearkening back to those ties and similar buildings from the same people who were living in those areas before continental split. But I would also
May I ask a
say,
question?
yes.
Okay. Because some people believe the Mississippi River is
The Nile.
the original Nile.
I
So
disagree
you know
with.
what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I disagree with that. And
Okay.
some of them are talking
I've heard
about
all of these
portals
things,
and all kind of
all
other
this
things too.
stuff, and I'm like,
The
The
evidence
reason why
hard
the
part.
reason why I would
just real quick
Chris.
before you.
Sure.
So the wood from Noah's Ark. I'm not a Bible thumper, but I forget the type of wood that the Noah's Ark is made of. You could only find it in Florida or something like that. You know what I'm
I've
talking
heard
about?
that, yes, but I would disagree with
Yeah,
that
because
being
I'm
the
not
correct
yeah.
with that being the actual wood that was used. Because the
I
area
don't
with a
even
lot
believe
of
in Noah's Ark, so
well, there is a large structure which matches the dimensions of what would be said to be Noah's Ark. And when archaeologists dug into it, they did find petrified wood. They did find like metal studs of various different metals and things like that, which matched biblical texts. So whether you believe that it was mystical and all these other things that were going on, that's a different argument. But
argument, yeah.
Well,
there are some factual things that can be proven with archaeology that prove certain things in the Bible. So
I mean, with
where
as
it's
with any
actually
other
it would be in Turkey. That's where it's Turkey, yes. Which is a beautiful country. I
yes, it
definitely
is,
recommend if anybody ever gets the
and,
opportunity to go.
and a very
Abby,
nice.
where are you from?
Even though it's where am I from? I
Are
was
you
born
West
and
Indian?
raised. No, I was born and I'm Creole, born and raised in Louisiana.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that
Um,
place too. Love the
yeah,
people down
it's a
there.
nice place. The Cajuns and the Creoles. We something else down here.
Oh, I spent a little bit of time in New Orleans back when I was working armored truck, and I just love the people down there.
Yeah, I've lived a couple of places, mostly in New York City though. But I've
Mikhail,
lived a
where in Canada
few.
are you?
I'm in Windsor, Ontario, just across the border from Detroit. I kind of grew up in this area, in neighboring town LaSalle, and I was born in London, Ontario, a couple hours up the road from there. But spent most of my life just in southwestern Ontario here. So.
And I hope to meet him in Niagara Falls soon enough.
See, that's like what we did. I flew out to Florida to go hang with Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be awesome.
Hell yeah.
I think it's important for co-hosts, especially if you met online, to actually meet in person. It's a great thing, especially if you're close and
We
cool. Kind of, I know some people just hop on camera and they do something. Then once the camera's off, they don't want nothing to do with each other.
No, we've grown to become friends. We talk off camera as well.
I look forward to being able to meet you one day in person. Hopefully, we can make it happen, right?
Exactly.
So it's just a financial issue, right?
Exactly.
I understand.
Yeah, Marcus is in Cali. Marcus is in Cali, LA. I'm in South Florida, so we on total opposite ends of the country.
Oh my gosh! Wow, I have a lot of
Yeah.
family in LA, in Glendale and Oakland and Compton. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I
In
know a lot
fact,
about LA. I actually was supposed to move to LA because I had family there, and I didn't like it. It felt like it was too. It felt too like I had to be put together all the time.
I
And
Got you.
I like I like New
I don't
York
advise
because
it.
You could just run
I
out.
like New York better because I was like, I can just run out and do whatever and don't nobody give a shit. And it doesn't mean you don't have nothing. It just means you just ran out.
Correct.
Plus
It's not
New
time for
York,
me to be dressed yet.
I just like
It's
plus
the
not
New
time for
York
bright
me.
of
don't
New York
sleep.
City.
Plus New
And
York
it
don't
don't sleep.
sleep. That's what
It don't sleep.
I mean, it would blow your mind that Cali, it sleeps. It definitely does.
Oh,
Like,
New York don't sleep. You can go out at 4 a.m. in the morning and there's something going on. For sure.
yeah, not here.
Yeah. I loved it.
Nothing but traffic going on.
Well, it's a lot of traffic in New York
24/7
City, but
traffic.
yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
I'd get a little stressed if they're that busy at 4 in the morning and stuff. I mean, that's kind of happens here too. There's always some person in the parking lot outside my building making some nonsense in the middle of the night. But I'm not like always, like at least sometimes I have some peace and quiet. There's like a bar across the street too. So there's the late night drinkers open till 2 a.m. Right. But if I weren't living right next to the bar, if I could live just up the block, I'd have some peace and quiet. Right.
Well, Michael, it bothered me
But
at
that gives
first.
you life. Look, I lived above a bar for like 10 years. I loved it.
It's kind of
Yeah,
fun.
it bothers you
It's
at
not scary.
first, but then once you get used to it, you can tune it out.
Yeah.
I would just
And
be down there.
I used to work there actually for a year and a half, and then now I can't go back in there. But yeah.
I can't live that
oh,
close.
because Michael's a
Nothing
rebel.
like that. I can't live too close to that. It's probably good. I
But
live in
once
a
you,
nice, like, sleepy neighborhood with most of my neighbors are older.
Well, I'm
but
not gonna
look,
lie.
maybe
My
for
neighborhood in New York City is isolated, so I don't hear all of that at night. But when I first got there, I heard all of it. I was fortunate enough to move into a place where it was a big complex, so it was very isolated. But I could always, if I wanted to hear it, I could just go outside, and it's right there.
It's all right,
But
Chris. What were you
anyway, that's
saying?
neither here nor there. We're getting off topic.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not.
we had pulled up some stuff. We're like an hour and 40 minutes in, and we haven't we just it's just been banter, and it's been
Yeah.
awesome. It so we have to have you back on to actually talk about real topics.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause
we can just go. We can just go.
yeah,
That's
we
what we
just been
do.
meeting each other at this
Yeah.
point, right? And it's been beautiful. I had pulled up some stuff about the Hamas leader was
Yeah, you
killed
were.
Y'all
by
some more.
Israel, all kind of stuff. But I mean, we
Yeah.
140 minutes
Don't
in,
get
so
us
I don't.
going on that.
Mm.
Don't get us going on that.
I know. I'm like,
Now's
I don't
probably a good
know how
time.
much y'all want to
Well,
keep
you were
going.
That means
me
they need to come back.
before we started. Abby was
That means
saying
they
that
need to come back.
she's got to maybe get up early in the morning. So we should just
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
we could definitely come back.
I have a painting job to do.
And I
Nice.
gotta be up actually early for a change tomorrow. I gotta be at work at 6.
Oh,
y'all sound old.
I have to be up at 6:30. We sound
Said the
old.
person who loved living under the
above a club.
above or under.
Above the bar. I lived above the bar. I would look out my window.
That's the
Look,
life.
I would look. I would look out my window and see what it looked like downstairs. Then I would determine if I wanted to go outside or not.
So
Yo,
that's
he
why
would
you have that
finish
smile.
shows and be like, "I'm about to head down to the bar."
That's that happy look you have. That's called a permanent state of joy.
I would do that too in New York. I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna go outside for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, Abby, I would never see you again. you would turn it into karaoke every night.
Oh no, we're not doing karaoke.
Hey,
No, we going to party. Marcus will tell you
karaoke.
if we're gonna hang out, we're gonna party. I promise you, we're gonna have a good time. We need music. We're gonna chill. Yeah, nah, I don't play. Marcus will tell you.
Oh yeah.
I want to think what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the killing of the Hamas leader by Israel. I want to talk about Liz Cheney, and not only did she endorse Kamala Harris, but she endorsed another Democrat, Susan Wild. And I'm like, why does her endorsement even fucking matter? Like, what does that say about you guys? And I want to talk about like the immigration from South America to California. Oh, that was my topics, but I digress. We
Is there a lot of that? Is there a lot of that migration over there?
No, like how they're talking about Venezuela, the migration from Venezuela, migration from the Haitians, and I just wanted to kind of talk about how uh, there wouldn't be that type of migration if America wouldn't have destabilized those two countries, stuff like
Oh yeah,
that.
of course.
Um,
Uh,
uh, let me just let you plug, Chris. Can you plug your show? Because we're not going to talk about any of those things tonight. We're going to have you guys back on another time, and hopefully you can have us back on have us on your show.
as long as you guys are willing, of course.
As long as you're willing,
Oh,
of course.
I would like to invite him to Black Live.
No, hell yeah. No,
So
y'all straight, man.
okay,
Great.
Absolutely. Open,
So you put it
no,
in the
open invite.
comments.
Mark, I'll just mind you, when it comes to certain foreign policy topics that involve certain countries in the Middle East, we're not the nicest people about it. We like to speak extremely plainly on the matter, right? Me personally, especially, I really don't like to hold my tongue. I really probably should because it could affect my employment. But at the end of the day, I truly don't care because I I don't care because at the end of the day, I hate bullies. I hate that behavior. And whether you want to call it what started as ethnic cleansing is looking like, I don't call it a genocide only because there's Palestinians that still exist throughout the world. Like there's a lot of them in Jordan and so on and so forth, right? Spread out throughout the world. I get why people do call it a genocide because there is a lot of them who do live in Gaza. But it just seems like to me, the Zionists just said they hit play on their mowing the lawn operation and they just clearing out the land. It's like cattle or like weeds, if you will. I'm not calling the people there that, please believe me. I'm saying from the perspective of the Zionists, we just need to clear this land of the weeds and we can start development.
Yeah,
Whatever
they may
it
not
might
even
be.
themselves consider it genocide.
I don't know how you could try to say it, classify it, describe it any other way. Like how can you say it any other way?
I think the whole or in part is kind of that important part of the definition because while the entire diaspora may be able to survive, the fact that they are intentionally, systematically trying to eradicate this specific group, it kind of falls technically under the definition, and it's made to.
I agree. I agree. How I normally phrase it is I normally say ethnic cleansing because I feel now I agree that it is a genocide. I completely because it's an intentional goal to eradicate a portion of that population, whether in whole or in part. And I believe their goal is their goal overall is, I mean, to just jump to it, the greater Israel, they want the greater Israel project. And I've been talking about the greater Israel project for what, Chris?
Years.
What, 4 years now, probably?
Years.
They want it all.
A lot crazier before all this is happening right in front of us, right? But now it seems hard to deny.
All.
Well, because if you don't study,
had episodes, we've had episodes taken down. We're shadow banned. We never collected bread on the channel, so we don't even have that many followers to say like, oh, they messing with our money. Because no, we never even asked for money to begin with, right?
Chris, can I ask you? What we're the same. We've never asked for any money to begin with either. But is it 9 p.m.? What
Eastern
Time
Eastern
zone.
time.
Eastern time.
Eastern.
Okay.
Yeah.
9 p.m. Eastern. Can you add that, please?
Please, yeah. Sorry, thank you. 9 p.m.
No
Eastern.
problem.
What is that? 6 p.m. Pacific.
Pacific, 8 p.m. Central. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to make sure people knew.
No, that was good. Thank you. I appreciate it. No, it's you know, it's this is how can the way I frame it, the way I see it in my brain is like if I go back to the 16 or 1700s, right? Or even the 1500s when the Europeans first came over here, right? The way that they slaughtered the indigenous population, it's like we're watching it now, just the 21st century version of it.
Who are also black, Africans.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I'm just saying we're just watching the erasure. We're watching the erasure of life in the worst possible ways is being live streamed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, what a time to be alive, as they always say, right? We are literally watching. Imagine if the good thing about the internet not being available before was that you could show the entire country what was going on in Vietnam, and most of the country would be tuned in because they didn't have any other source, right? Now, I would say less than enough people who need to know are even aware of what's happening over there to the extent that it is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Chris, don't get me started on how the Arab Egyptians, just like the Ashkenazi Jews in Israel, are trying to act like they've been there the whole time. Don't get me started.
Oh,
y'all better stop.
Chris, you know what I've talked because that's like my wheelhouse as far as history is ancient history, and talking about the Sumerians and talking about the Babylonians, and because there are different Babylonian periods and ancient Rome and ancient Greece and Songhai Empire, and I can just go through all these different empires. And when you really go back into that and you go into the wars that were going on in all of those different areas and all of the migration that's happened in and out of that area, how many different people have ruled over that area, and just the conquest and all those things like that happen. And then for people to try to act as if, no, the people who were there look exactly like they looked 4,000 years ago. And it's like,
what are you talking about?
Who are you telling this to, when I can show you, like, for instance, I can show you archaeology to the Minoans or the Mycenaeans. I could show you that they didn't even look like the people who live in that region. And there's archaeology to show you that. I can show you I'm trying to remember what they called. I'm blanking on their name, but basically
there's hieroglyphics, there's Olmecs, there's all kind of stuff.
Like the Lacedaemonians. If you look into the Lacedaemonians, basically the Lacedaemonians are the Spartans. There's actual like sculptures, mini sculptures carved of what they look like with their shields with the L on it, the Lacedaemonians. And they don't look like 300. I'm just telling you that.
This is not Sparta.
No. And so much of history is just like completely just and the crazy part about it is they play this game with history, but you can go back 200 years ago, not even 200, go back 100 years ago. There are books that tell you clearly what it was. And then there's just been a conscious effort, for people to just start erasing stuff away. I mean, you can look at old encyclopedias and information that was in there is just completely just ripped out. And that shows you a conscious effort by somebody now with power to erase and change things and mix people up. And what I was saying about like that Greater Israel project, you can look at all the way back to Theodore Herzl, and you can look back to his predecessors before him. You can look at Winston Churchill, and know what the Zionist project has always been about. The stuff that they're heading towards now is the goals that have always been the goals. It's just Western society gives so much of a benefit of the doubt to other people who look like them. And it's like, I know that they said that they want to do these horrible things, but let's just come on, guys. Let's just really think about it and give it a second chance. Whereas anybody who doesn't look like them, they automatically, the worst of the worst thing is automatically accepted. And that's what that unconscious racism that is embedded in this society.
Now, young Morpheus, I'm about to derail the entire conversation, and then I'm gonna leave it at that.
Go on ahead, tear it down.
The new Merriam-Webster dictionary added "bootylicious" as a word.
Wow.
So, where are we going? Where are we going as a society?
Wow. I ain't see that coming.
And conversate.
Well,
Conversate's a word now too.
Like Gen Alpha and like this, the things that they're saying are kind of for like I'm not even that old. I'm just a millennial, but I don't understand what they mean when they use words sometimes. And you're still supposed to speak in English. We're supposed to be able to understand each other when we're using the same language. Like,
Michael, did you take a class in Latin? I think you did.
I just have a interest in it, a little bit of a.
Okay.
Philology is like a little hobby of mine. Is where you study the origin of words and stuff.
My father took a Latin class, so he used to always get on me.
Well, I do that.
You know, it's amazing to learn the origin of the word.
I didn't take a Latin class.
Like the word.
Well, I do a lot of studying, especially like even like with conversation came up on biblical stuff and going back and understanding the original translations. I've done a lot of that, and when you start understanding, wait a minute, y'all think this meant this? That's not even what that means. Like a lot of the translations are they're not good translations.
Well, my favorite word for that is the word nice. Used to mean stupid, and now it means what it means now. But I think it's important to remind people and remember the original meaning, because it seems like sometimes the original meaning is more is at play more than the modern meaning. You know.
Well, it's even like fair. That's the original meaning to that is way changed, but
I also find it interesting.
There are a lot of things
that
sorry.
Sorry.
You let our guests speak a bit.
They got two delays going on here. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Chris.
When you sit and think about it, maybe because I smoke bud, but when you sit and think about it, there are a lot of things that are inverted that shouldn't be, or reversed, whatever it might be, right? There are a lot of things. You can try to theorize your way out of it, etc., but it speaks to higher powers in the different places. Maybe it really is their playground, and we're not in the right place.
About time you start listening to me, Chris.
Well, especially with all that "as above, so below" kind of when you look into
the
rhetoric.
Got it. Thank you, Michael. He got it. Thank you. I'm glad you caught it. I just threw it into the ether. You got it.
Yeah. Well, you have to know the esoteric or whatever stuff to know like, the different ways that when someone uses a word that they're not using it in the modern sense that people are assuming that they're using it. They are actually literally using it as coded language right in front of your face. So I mentioned this a while ago with Kamala Harris was talking about the middle class, and the original meaning of that is bourgeois. So I'm saying when she talks about the middle class, you think she's talking about the working class. I say she's talking about the bourgeois. So
yeah, they're never talking to us. They're talking above our heads, but they say it in a way where they make us think they're talking to us, but they're really talking to the PMC class.
Mhm.
But I wanted to say that I find it interesting because the colors pink and blue before the turn of the century, pink was a boy color and blue was a girl color. And now we're arguing over this frivolous thing as a color of a crayon. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's just a goddamn color. And with that being said, Cobra says, oh, not that one. Sorry. Like the cross and the peace sign.
Okay, Old Man Barker got it.
Mhm.
Old Man Barker. Do you either of you want to speak on that, or?
I mean,
not. That would
It
take
speaks for
next
itself.
time.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
for next time.
Yeah, it speaks for itself.
Because
I want to respond to what you were saying on the pink and the blue, and it's kind of interesting. Like, I still remember a time when trans women and trans men used to be like, yes, I'm a trans man, I'm a trans woman. That was not considered an offensive term. And older people within the trans community are looking at the younger trans community like, what the hell are you guys doing? This we don't know what's going on here. This is just getting confusing. Because like now we're to the point where we got people who are like, no, I'm actually part mermaid and I identify as mermaid.
As a unicorn.
And I'm like, whoa,
I identify as a unicorn. I'm like, wait a minute.
To point out you're losing track of reality. Now you're a bigot, you're a transphobe, you're not a Marxist or whatever. Yeah, like
they're like, I'm a woman. No, you're a trans woman.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
No, you're a man.
You a woman,
how about that?
But you are
stop playing
trans.
games. You're a man. We stop playing games.
But
people have to be allowed to have that opinion, or it's okay.
But
like,
doesn't a trans woman mean
you're not
a
murdering
man?
trans people? You're allowed to disagree. Like,
doesn't a trans woman mean a man?
No, that's what I'm saying. They're confusing shit. I mean, yes, it does. But why are we talking in gibberish? If we heard little kids talking like this, we would correct them. If you're born with a penis, you're a man. If you have a split, you're a woman. No offense, right? But I'm just saying.
The genetics does make when you learn about the genetics, it does get harder to maintain that like black and white perception of the clear separation between the sexes, because there are the more rare individuals that have a much more unique genetic makeup that's undeniable. But when you go trying to act like this group is so much larger than it actually is, that's kind of the problem, where it's a very small minority. Like,
and
as a biological woman, I'd like to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to say, why is the conversation focused around trans women? It's still focused around a patriarchal lens, because nobody's talking about trans men. Nobody gives a shit.
That's
they
part
are like
that's
out of the
like
picture.
That quiet part out loud, right? It reveals that
what is
the whole point about this fixation on the trans issue,
it's still
and specifically the fixation on the trans women,
centering himself in society.
And no offense, but it's mostly white men. So it is still white men dictating policy now. Now they want to be able to control language and tell you that something that is used to refer to a plurality should now be used to describe something singular. It goes against everything that the majority of us around the world have learned, right? They are on a podcast. That means the four of us. Not they as in somebody single who wants to be called they. We keep playing into this stuff, being nice and kind. If you don't want to be called the F word, you don't want to be assaulted or harmed because of how you want to dress or present yourself, fine, I can dig that. And we shouldn't be, again, harassing people, right? But you're not going to have me change my language. And then lastly, I'll leave this right here and I'll say, if the three of us here tomorrow said that we were white and we identify as Caucasian, no one would believe us, take us seriously, or describe us as Caucasian. Nobody would.
Nobody would. May I?
What we talking about?
I don't want to put you on the spot, Black Life, but may I just say that like sometimes we go to like we go to a drive-thru or something. They call her sir. She don't fall up in arms. She just continue with the order. They'll figure it out when they see her at the damn window. It's not a big deal.
Mhm.
Why are you falling out over a pronoun because somebody misgendered you? They call her sir all the time. Her voice is deep.
As my parents say, you choose to be
You wanna
offended.
speak
I
on
get
that?
really tired of hearing
You don't
that
want to
after a
speak
while.
on it. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
that happens. I mean,
Okay.
there are just some women out there that their voice might have it might be a little bit lower, and there are
Right.
some men out there whose voice is a little bit higher. I
Right.
mean,
And you know what? They don't get offended. They just
Mhm.
keep it fucking pushing.
That's the
Yep.
stuff about the gender role, that people don't necessarily understand. The leftist position about this stuff is that a man doesn't have to be like the typical thing that you think of in your mind when you think of what a man is, or the stereotype. There are men out there that don't have to fit into the gender role, and then that doesn't have to be all that controversial. But there are some people, more like the right-wing minded people, who sort of think if you are not really adhering to the traditional role of a man or a woman, then there seems to be something wrong with you. You're probably one of the like closet gays or something. So.
Like everything else on the right, they're broken clock and they're right twice a day, but that means you broken and wrong every other time. So that's how I describe the right wing. If you're not chopping wood and hunting animals, then you're not a man. All you guys are overweight. You can't keep your women. You don't have children. You spend a lot of time on the internet bitching. You cry a lot for supposed to be these alpha males. You run around calling yourself you run around saying that you're alpha. You seem even below beta. So a lot of the idea of what a man is supposed to do, these dudes are not even they're not even self-sufficient or self-reliant. They can't wash their clothes properly. They don't know how to take care of their crib properly. They don't know how to do any of these things. So this is why they're crying about the role of a traditional woman, because these scrub ass dudes don't know how to do the basics. They probably don't even know how to clip their nails properly or to trim their nose hairs or their ear hairs. Right? They don't even know how to satisfy a woman. That's why they don't keep their women. And then really they be beefing about everybody else. And you know what the main problem is? They mad at their women like experimenting with other people. And unfortunately, they look like Marcus and myself. And that really pisses them off. So that's the right wing. They have a lot of psychological problems along with their alcoholism and their broken homes. They love talking about fathers not being in the house. Hey, look, your dad was in the house. He came home every day and sat in the basement and drank beer and paid you and your sister no mind, actually. So your father was actually absent too. And your mother was upstairs crying and on the phone and selling Avon and out the house and working and all this other shit. So, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of them with a lot of loser shit in their background, which is why you see them present themselves the way they do. And you can always tell based on how they present themselves. They're always so angry and so mad and so butthurt about everything. Everything. And it's like, damn, I could tell you just really don't get pussy, part of my language, and you don't have any options for it. So you're just a really bitter person. Sorry for going on that rant. Marcus,
I think
Michael.
everyone appreciated hearing it. It's a vicious feedback loop there where you don't get any, and then you get bitter, and then because you're bitter, you're not gonna get any. Who the fuck wants to be with you or whatever? You can't even put a smile on your face.
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay. I don't know what happened to my I'm back. But I'm here as Black Life because I don't know what happened to my laptop. So
And people wonder why they kids are incels.
Yeah. Well, people
So
forget also the
so
stereotype. There's a lot of incels out there, like disabled people or got in a car crash or something. Now they're not really able to so much be who they used to be, right? So
Well, see,
it's
I'm not so much talking about that type of incel because I mean that's a little different situation. Man, if I lost my legs, I'd probably be a little pissy too. But uh
you guys were cooking. I wanted to get
but
in on this.
I'm talking about these ones who are able-bodied, who grew up in a two-parent household, and they can't get a woman. And I'm talking, it's not like, oh, well, they actually prefer men. No, these are ones who want women who
Want women.
cannot get a woman to save their life. They can't even get a woman to spit on them. But these are the ones who sit there and they're pissed off and angry. I saw some of them when I was even in the military who they think because I have a career, I have a job, I'm important, and they go out and they might get a woman who's going to stick with them because they can get some benefits off of them and they can milk their dumb asses. And then what happens? They go out to sea and come home. The woman is taking everything and then left them by them lonesome. And now they've gotten out of the military and they found a job where they're got a little bit of power.
Woman
They
here.
bitch at everybody, and that's the softness. That's where this incel stuff comes from. Mhm.
Woman here.
good to have your opinion too.
Oh, I'd love to talk about this subject. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I mean
So,
we got our. I mean we got into one earlier today, Chris. And the dude was like, I remember that when the black community was stronger, and I'm like, no,
Oh
what you
yeah.
remember, what you miss is you miss when the black community just shut the hell up and suppressed everything. I said
mm,
it's not about us being fragile because he tried to call Chris fragile. He's like, no, what it is it's about disrespect. If we're being disrespected, you're going to hear about it. Whereas years back, we would just have like, and that goes into that post traumatic slave disorder. You knew
mm.
the consequences are going to be so crazy if you decided to push back. So you just shut up and you shove it down and don't say anything. But now we don't have to do that anymore. And I'm like, you think that's stronger for me to just shut up and take the abuse that you do? That's not strength. That's operating from a place of weakness. And for a lot of those people who like, well, the left and all these people, they just want to divide us. I'm like, when do you guys think we were ever united? Just because you didn't hear some of the frustrations and complaints that we had does not mean we were united.
Yeah.
My little 2 cents. Now, can we
Mhm.
work towards
Woman here.
uniting? Can we have groups where okay, I got a couple of Hispanics, I got a couple of white people, I got a couple of yes, we do have some of that, but don't think as a American society we were fucking united ever.
Never. Never. Never.
Anywhere,
So
not just here.
remember
Anywhere.
remember when I was speaking on the trans women and how it's centered around it's still centered around patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's just go back to the uh heterosexual couple, which is centered around patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why women couldn't work outside of the home, couldn't vote, couldn't get have bank accounts, all this stuff. And now that women are being more self-sufficient, the men are panicking and they're trying to convince women your worth uh you're only you only have worth when you're like 20 to 25. The older, if you don't get married by then, the older you get, the lower your worth. And women are like, who the hell are you talking to? Because they're trying to convince young women to hurry up and get with them so they can control them. Because the older women get, the more wisdom they have and the more red flags they can see.
Mm-hmm.
And women are peeping game like, wait a minute, you keep telling us, what do you bring to the table? You want a trad wife, traditional wife, right? A trad wife, but you
Mm-hmm.
want them to pay 50-50. wait a minute now. That's not a traditional wife. If you want me to pay 50-50, then you need to get your ass up in here and cook, clean, do the laundry, uh, do all it, run errands 50-50 with my ass because I'm bringing 50, I'm paying 50-50 of the bills. So you need to be doing 50-50 of the work. But they want women to pay 50-50 with them, but still want a trad wife. And women are like, well, you know what? If you sitting up in my house and we doing that, I might as well just do it all myself. Why do I need you here? And the men are getting angry about that and are trying to convince women you gonna grow old and lonely. Ain't nobody gonna want you for it. I'm 47. Look at me. You think I have problem finding a man?
Well, I would also
Shit.
say, as far as you saying that women can be more self-sufficient now, there's a little bit of like a false self-sufficiency that's a little bit going there. Where speaking more from my own personal experience, there's like my ex and I separated, and she got a lot of help as far as government support and subsidy and stuff for being able to leave me. But now she's not really had that economic mobility to get out of like this low poverty class that we're both stuck in. So is it really self-sufficiency? It's like the government gives her money to take care of my kids, and I don't get the same kind of benefit. And I feel that's not very fair. But I understand patriarchy is a problem.
Yeah, that's a different circumstance. There are a lot of women who are like middle class doing it on their own.
Unfortunately,
I
I
think
would
I'm
say,
speaking more about those type of women.
you know, unfortunately, social media, specifically Instagram over Twitter, and probably Twitter second, Facebook probably third, but the discussions on relationships, particularly in the Black community, are some of the most low-level intellectual conversations that I have ever
That I've
witnessed
seen.
in life. It is really pathetic. And if you engage in that, not anybody, not like that you read it or you watch it, but if you subscribe to any of that, let me say that. If you subscribe to any of the online conversations about relationships, specifically between Black men and Black women, you're not bright. You're, matter of fact, maybe you are bright. You're just a candle in the sun. Okay. It's ignorance on top of ignorance on top of ignorance on top of ignorance. Okay,
It's with the whites too. It's with the whites too. Have you seen Fresh and Fit?
Oh, don't get us started
It's
on
number
them.
white girls.
Don't get me.
It's number
He
white
blocked
girls.
me. Look, Fresh blocked me from his channel, I think in 2021. So I be on. I see the bullshit. I call it. People don't like me, so it's okay. I don't play that game. I march to my own drum. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like it's
can agree but disagree.
It's like a hetero thing that's happening on podcasts. Like anybody can have a mic. Shit, I got a mic. Does that make me an expert? No, I'm just speaking. You could take what you will and leave the rest. But I feel like
you should just go. How about just going with what works for you?
I'm trying to figure out why. Like, are the heterosexuals okay? I don't think the heterosexuals are okay.
Well, what I think it is
they arguing too much.
And if you look at a lot of the red pill manosphere, most of these people are somebody who's trying to push an image because they don't really have that. A lot of them are trying to copy, the Kevin Samuels of the world. And there's a certain amount of grifting that's going on, but my simple thing that I would say for everybody, no matter who you are, know your personal worth. For those men who are talking about to telling a woman, oh, when you get to this age, you ain't gonna be nothing. That woman know what her worth is. Now, maybe a whole bunch of other women who might hit 55, they might fit what you say. but that doesn't mean every single woman is going to fit
If
what
you
you
talk,
think, and so you push it. And the same thing, some of them out there. The reason why I say know it cuts both ways. Know your worth. There are some women out there who you are not bringing anything to the table, and some men you are not bringing anything to the table, but
It
you
works both ways.
think you're so valuable. And sometimes you need to go back and look yourself in the mirror and be honest with where you really are.
look, the guys who talk that stuff, if you this how you know that they don't talk to any women, right? If you talk to any woman who's like 40 and up, right? The first thing they will tell you is, "Oh my God, I don't know what's going on. All these young guys keep trying to holler at me." Guys my age at some time, but a lot of the time it be these young boys, 25, 26, 27. I'm looking at
Because
them
they
like,
need a
damn,
place to
you cute.
live. Because they need a
But
place to live.
regardless, what I'm saying is they are showing interest. They are
Mm-hmm.
not just looking past and saying, "Oh, she's 40, single, got kids, ill." Nah, there's a lot of dudes even who are 28, 27, kicking game to these women like, "Oh, I love an older woman." They
Because
shooting a shot.
it's not always about a place to say, because I've been that younger dude trying to talk to an older woman, and it was just something about that woman that she had. I don't know. I was like, I don't know. It's like some kind of knowledge or a vibe that's off of her that
Mm.
comes off different. I already got my own spot. I don't need your spot, but it's something about
Mm.
Correct.
you. I want to be
Correct.
around you. I want to get to
Correct.
know
Mm.
you, because
Facts.
these
I had my
and
own
and
shit. I didn't need to
and
go looking.
and, and Chris will definitely attest to this. Now there are certain types of dudes who, yes, they looking for an empty vase. They looking for a
Mm.
woman that they can pretty on the outside that I can fill up with whatever I want. Some dudes is looking for that personality, that aura, that she got something about her. And so sometimes there are those men out there that they're attracted to that. They're attracted to, oh no, look at the confidence. Look how she moves to the world. Look, she got
Mm.
humor, she got this, she got that. And so there are still some of those guys out there.
Mm.
But what's happening is the oxygen in the room is being taken up
It's being sucked
by
in.
the fresh and fit types who really don't have nothing, who gonna pay a whole bunch of OnlyFans models and
Insta
Instagram Insta thoughts to get on there and get eye candy to get more insecure
viewers.
males to get on there and follow and like, oh look, they really got it going. Look at all the girls they got, not realizing that they pay for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one
Yeah,
Correct.
thing.
because
And
those girls aren't very smart.
well,
It's one
they're
thing.
young girls.
Because
I'm
they're
not
only
even.
about showing their body.
And there's
These
like
are
this.
gold diggers.
There's this
But here's the
older.
thing.
There's this older man on there, and it's kind of creepy. It's like you are so much older than what. Why are you on here talking to these 19, 18-year-old
Because
girls,
they have
20-year-old girls,
spent too much.
and you're like
They have
40
spent too much time
something?
watching porn.
Is it your boy?
Porn.
What's his
It's
name?
that older man, and then his
DJ. What's his name?
I don't
Academics.
know. No, it's a
So
white
these
man. This
guys have
older
spent.
white
Oh,
man.
They
And then
spend so
there's
much
this
time watching porn that they only know how to go after women who look like a porn star. They get these girls who just left their mom and dad's house 48 hours prior. They pay them to be
48
on the
hours.
show. They get these dudes in the comments who like,
Not
yeah,
48 hours.
curse her out. And you're just really mad because you really want to sleep with the woman that you see, but you know that you have you don't have a chance of sleeping with her. So now you're super bitter. So now you want to diss her because she don't want you. But I don't
Hmm.
they just whack, but
see,
that's a conversation for another
those
day.
older guys on there are the same older guys who they couldn't get the women when they were younger. Now they have
Correct.
money in their pocket. And so now they use that money as some kind of leverage against these younger girls, because these younger girls are thirsty for that money. And I'm
And
not
one of
saying
them,
all younger girls, but I'm saying the ones they're bringing on are.
One of them has like this homely ass wife who goes on there and like tries to school the girls like she's the end all be it all what a wife should be. And I'm like, girl, if you don't get your homely ass up out of here,
Because I know for the
it's
longest,
nothing
Pearly
wrong with being
Things was one of
homely.
those. Pearly
I
Things
could,
was one of them out there that was doing that for the longest. But when you really get behind the scenes, a lot of these people are not who they claim to be.
none.
They're they're
No.
they're they're all faking the funk. I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more grifting and faking than people realize out there. And
Mm-hmm.
being being a content creator now over what 5.5 years or so, close to 6 years that I've been going on shows and interacting with some of these different people. There's so many of these people who I know what's going on personal business behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
that if some of the people who listen to them knew it, they would not listen to these people anymore.
Morpheus, how many of these relationships uh on social media, like they're so happy and they're this and they're that, and how many of these people have been unalived?
Oh, it happens all the time. It
All the
happens all
time.
the time.
It's like it's crazy how many, and it's like,
Well, keep in mind
you can't.
one of my
The
other
world is a
jobs because
stage.
I've had a gazillion different career fields and stuff. So one of them, I
Me
worked
too.
corrections also, and in working corrections, man, some of the stuff that you hear about in stories. I mean, like that story you talked about that girl who was in the class who was kind of your enforcer and what she ended up doing. I knew a girl that did the same thing to her mother, like
Hmm.
50, 60 something times, where she just, so but I've known so many of these people. Now the difference is old school couples used to be like, you know what? Our business is our business. If I got a problem with you, we're gonna sit through the party, everything's fine. And then as soon as we get to that car out of sight of everybody else, I'm gonna tear into your
That
ass.
ass up.
Eh, but they make sure they ain't calling their sister or their brother and telling them about that. They maybe got one or two friends that they'll give the real. And then you be like, well, y'all been married for 27 years and I've never seen a problem. And all of a sudden you just hear, boom, they filed for divorce, they split up. And that's honestly, I respect that far more because that's how your relationship's supposed to be. Because if you work on it in-house and keep the business in-house, then you have a possibility of staying together and making it work. But when you
Thank
start
you.
adding all these other people into it, people start feeding into your head, people start feeding into their head,
Thank you.
and now you start having problems.
Do
Yeah,
you do
sorry,
you
I
think
tried
the
to pop.
pressure of being too perfect? Oh, I'm sorry, Michael.
I was just
I'm
saying I
just
had
gonna
to
ask this
pop off
question
for
real
a
quick.
cigarette. That's all.
Oh, okay. Do you think the pressure of being too perfect gets to them or something? Like, why are they unaliving each other?
I'm telling you, a lot of times what happens is money. A lot of times
Mm,
these people are hiding secret money problems, and I've seen times like I'll give a real story, life experience. My ex-wife, while people are like, "Oh, you have all these nice things and stuff," they didn't know that my ex-wife owed over 100,000 to the IRS.
damn.
There's also
Wait,
reputation.
I ain't mean to say it like that.
No,
I think,
no. Well, she was frauding the
It's a lot of
government,
money.
and hopefully, I don't know, maybe it caught up with her eventually. I don't know.
but
Um,
trying to get someone to pay your debts for her, kind of.
well,
Yeah, that's a lot of
she
money.
was a criminal. I'll just say
Oh.
that. I won't say her name. I won't put it out
Mm-hmm.
there. But
Don't put it out. Don't dox her.
yeah, she was a criminal. No, I think she moved on to another guy with some the money that she'll be able to funnel that debt into.
Well,
I was saying though, it's
I
also
hope you got out of there good.
I was saying sometimes I think people would be unalived because it's so unbearable to reveal what's been kept secret these past few years, and then the
Oh yeah.
person that you have to let people know that you are. It's just preferable for even if it shouldn't be for them to do the unthinkable. So
Well, a couple of cases that I've
Agreed.
heard of, in particular, it was a case where this guy found out that the kid was not his and passed the DNA test because it was the same DNA. It was his brother's kid.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that'll do it.
That kind of situation, that'll do it. And
that
that's what I'm
might
saying. Some of
that
these
might do
things,
it.
it's so deep and dark of secrets that when you
That
hear, you're
might
like,
do it.
I can kind of, I wouldn't have did what you did, but I can
But
understand.
I understand.
Yeah.
Oh, and
I wouldn't do it, but I
lastly, I want to
understand.
say that men. I saw this thing. I don't know how real it was. Did you see that yesterday, Marcus, where it said men should take pregnancy tests once a year?
Pregnancy test.
Men should.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What's that?
No,
So there was
I
this.
think whenever
So there was a
a
story.
child is born. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, there was a story. This dude and this woman, and somebody thought he was pregnant. And anyway, dude pissed on the pregnancy test, and it came up positive. So then they were like, "What the hell? Why come up like, come on, this is a joke, fake test, etc., etc." Well, long story short, come to find out, they took it to a doctor. He had testicular cancer, and that's what the positive came up for, because the same markers that they used to check for pregnancy picked it up. I can't exactly remember what the doctor said.
Well, that
But
makes sense that it was probably recognizing some kind of growth within the organs.
It's interesting.
yeah, so and that presented itself, and dude ended up having testicular cancer. So it's funny, I saw that. Like, so if you piss on a pregnancy test and it comes up positive, then maybe you should go see the doctor.
You know what,
Wow.
that does make sense, because they say men should not um eat a lot of tofu because it has too much estrogen in it and it could cause cancer in their body.
Oh,
I don't
Mm.
know if you ever
like
heard
tofu.
I don't know if you ever heard that.
No.
Well, I do think it's a lot of men out there that probably
Like
got
over
a higher
estrogen.
amount of estrogen in their system these days.
Yeah, a lot of endocrine disrupting chemicals out there, and not even
And
just.
I think it's on purpose to possibly, the political matrix, we talk conspiracy theory stuff, but and letting
Oh, do
everybody
you
know,
now?
disclaimer. Oh, definitely.
Oh man,
Oh,
our channel is wild.
we gotta come on, because I got
yeah.
I got a bunch of links of
Oh
conspiracy
yeah.
Our
theory stuff I
channel is
want to talk
wild.
about.
Neil will tell you. Talk to him. He'll tell you. He's been
Yeah.
tuning in. He'll tell
Yeah.
you it's wild.
Now the guys got a good show here. I've been watching for probably about a year now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You guys are a bit late at night. Sometimes I can't quite catch the whole show.
Yeah.
I start getting sleepy.
Cobra said he got to take a pee test.
Hey, I might go buy one tonight.
No, for real, I saw that and I just wasn't sure. And then I saw the doctor talking and the dude from the lab speaking. And I said, wait a second. Like, okay, there's some legitimacy to this, even though it was found out by accident. So,
Well, it's
No, I mean, it makes
they use
sense.
off-label medications. The doctor, if they're smart enough, they see your health problems, they can give you medication that's not technically for that problem, but it'll also be a cure somehow, a quid pro quo.
correct.
Well, I got to get up in the morning. I have to go. I have a painting job this month.
Okay.
All right.
I'm very excited
can I
about it.
plug something before we leave?
Of course you can. And before you do, I want to give you the entire stage. So here.
All right. So I appreciate you guys for, first and foremost, just much love and appreciation for allowing us to come crash you guys' stream and hang out with you guys. It's definitely been our honor and pleasure. But I wanted to say that of course we have our show that'll be Saturday night, but on Sunday I have something very special going on. I have comedian. I also do what I call a conversation. So I have a conversation with various different people, and I have Jawan Cap of No Cap Comedy that I'll be sitting down with to talk to Sunday. That'll be 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and I guess you guys can figure it out all the other times in between and outside of. So that's what I wanted to put out there. Please come and check it out. Not only is he doing comedy, but he's doing a lot of things to help up and coming comedians, and I just really think that what he's doing is really really cool. So hopefully y'all come and check it out. I already have it up as a reminder on the page, so make sure you guys come and swing through. If you guys have questions for him, if you're getting into comedy yourself, then hop in the chat and throw some questions out there, and hope to see you guys.
Cool. All right, thank you for that. And as far as plugs for us, we always tend to plug our own little shows first, and then maybe a few others. So please check out the Civilian Discourse Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern, Black Life 6 p.m. Eastern, and the Tin Rabbit on Wednesdays. It's been on a bit of a break, but I think Bad Cookies recently did a episode on his own. There's Bad Cookies and Mastermind host that on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Eastern, and then Noteworthy at 6 p.m. Eastern typically. So as
And I'm sorry. Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna as far as other channels, Eggs D popped in here. He's from the Canadian Commie YouTube channel. If anyone's interested, go and check that out. He's on at Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern.
I don't see him.
And Black Life, we're gonna have to talk to you too. Definitely.
XE.
He was up a while ago. Yeah. There.
XE is at what? 2 p.m.
It's not Eggs. He's just a member of the community. He's often in the chat over there at the Canadian.
Oh,
Commie.
I thought you said. Oh, okay.
John Sanderson is his name. He does a podcast, Canadian Communist, that I do some learning from. He's got a lot of knowledge on communist things in China and stuff like that. So.
Okay. We'd love to talk to him. Yeah, cool. So then I just want to thank you guys for coming on. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm like new to podcast world. So I'm trying to find all my podcasters, and I'm a caregiver, so sometimes I don't get a chance to look around as much as I would like to, but I'm gonna check you out, and I really appreciate you coming here. And now that I've met you, and we've been vibing, we've been vibing. You know I'm coming. I'm coming to look for you. I'm gonna search you out. And I'd love to come on your show about conspiracy theories because I got a lot of them.
You're welcome. Come on in.
I really got a lot of them.
Chris will tell you how many times though I'd be like, "Hey, you want to come on right now?" And I'll just just shoot you onto the DM and like, "Hey, hop on the show right now."
Yeah. So, well, I remember you offered me that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We hadn't quite done this, and I was a little nervous. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it just yet, but next time, sure.
Yeah, man, definitely welcome.
Michael, I think. Well, let me just say this about him. He's very kind about, like, I think he didn't say as much because we're 3 Black people, and he wanted to give us our voices to be heard. If I know Michael, but he has a lot to say, and he's very smart.
I know he's smart.
Yeah. I think he was just trying to be respectful in his way. So thank you, Michael.
Oh,
I know you had a lot. I know your mind was spinning over there, and you just kept your mouth shut a little bit.
Sometimes it's not time to do. Sometimes it's someone else. It's all good. We all need to kind of learn how to sit in the back seat as well as the front seat. So
exactly. I know you. Yeah. So I'm really glad to know you, Michael. And it was a pleasure to meet the both of you. And I guess we'll see you very soon.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you guys. Have a good
make
evening.
Sure to stay in touch.
Okay.
Sorry,
Will
was
do.
that Chris? Or...
No, I just say, thank you again for having us. It's very much appreciated. Your audience for, keeping up and staying with us. Thank you as well. Again, you're welcome on our channel. You just let us know what time is good for you, and we'll go from there. We're pretty flexible.
Yeah, because sometimes we'll just do a show on like a Sunday or something like that at a different time, so it's not as late for some people. Or I mean, we'll try to we'll try to work it out, especially on the weekends.
Well, I
Perfect.
have to
For
add
sure.
Chris
That's
on my
perfect.
social media there, so we can get a link to him there ahead of time next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on Instagram, so
Okay.
you can get him on Instagram or on Twitter, either one.
All right.
Perfect.
Cool.
And to our family at home, we love you. You already know that. We don't have to tell you, but we like to just keep reiterating it. All right. Bye, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thanks for coming.